Good morning from the second age of reason. What are we here for today? Today's topic are the rules of war. I tend to be more of a pacifist than a pro-war type of person, and so I see the nation now seems to have a penchant for war. They seem to think everybody wants to have a war with them. And so they are coming up with more and more excuses to have a war. More and more blame to put on the other people as to why they should have a war on them. So I remember growing up that I had school and history classes, and there were certain things about wars you learned in history. And not all of them were explained very clearly, but I'm going to go through a few of them right now just to kind of remind you. And maybe you didn't have them explicitly in your class, but I think they were kind of understood as, here are the rules of war, because this is what makes a war successful, if that's what you want to be successful at war. For a few things here, for success at war, one is you have to consider the cost. How is the financial condition of your country? That's part of it. You have to pay for the wages of the soldiers. You have to pay for the weapons of the soldiers. You have to pay for maintenance. You have to pay for logistics. You have to pay for contractors. You have to pay all kinds of things. And then after the war, you have to consider you will have wounded and pensions and all that. You need to consider those costs all into your war formula so that you're not caught off guard saying, hey, we're broke, or hey, we have $20 trillion of debt now, and was it worth it? So that's part of it, considering the cost of war, the number of lives you're willing to sacrifice. Whose lives? Your sons, your daughters, your grandsons, your granddaughters. That's kind of the human aspect of it. Another part of war is how long do you plan to have the war? I've often seen wars sold on the idea that, oh, it's just a quick in and out. We'll be done in 6 months, or we'll be done in a year. And a lot of wars seem to have a thing about them that they last like about 4 years or so. Civil War was about 4 years. Our involvement in World War II was in about 4 years. World War I we were only in for about 1. So short and sweet, get her done. That was the formula for success. Even the Korean War was just a couple of years, but we weren't really, I don't know, we were kind of part of something else in that. Now, when you get into wars that last longer than 4 years, you have things like the Vietnam War. And it had been going on, smoldering for years before, and was anything accomplished with that? The communists eventually took over, and now Vietnam is a thriving, successful country, although they have scars from that war of all those years. It also lost a lot of favor in the public's eye after it was more than 4 years. Fast forward to the 21st century. We have some wars that have gone on longer than 10 years. And here's how I want to place it. Rule of thumb. If you can win a war in 4 years, you've won the war. If it runs on longer than 4 years, if it runs on longer, like 10 years or more, you've lost the war. Even if you're still fighting it, you've lost. You can't win it in 4 years. It's not worth it. It's not a win. You've lost. Even if you think you've won, you've lost. Over 4 years. So that's the other part. Another rule of war, which we've learned from watching other things, is having a number of fronts in the war. For instance, Germany was moving forward pretty quick with their blitzkrieg idea, but when they decided to turn on Russia and open up a second front, that was the beginning of the end. Now, with common sense knows you shouldn't have too many fronts in the war because your resources and your force is split up and you don't have as much fighting power. Now you look at another country that we all are aware of now. What if you have dozens of war fronts all over the place? What does that mean? You know, the defeat will be that much more big and widespread when it comes to all those fronts someday. It's like you've built this house of cards, but the cards are tattered and old and ready to fall apart, and it's teetering. And that's kind of what happens when you have too many fronts in a war. Another aspect is the way you conduct the war. Are you fighting other soldiers and other military forces, or are you going door to door and you're killing men, women, and children, civilians as well? Well, that's not going to win anybody's hearts over there. It's going to leave a perpetual animosity. And if they haven't attacked you first, usually if you're the invader, you're the one who's the bad guy. So that's a thought to keep in mind as well, that you have the bad guy disadvantage if you've gone in and preemptively decided to invade a country. Another thing is, who are your soldiers? Are they volunteers ready and raring to go? Are they draftees who resent that you've interrupted their life? Well, not so much nowadays. They have a recruitment thing called a crummy economy that's great for recruiting soldiers. Since there's no good jobs out there, they can get some experience in the military. Also, there's the idea of using mercenaries. Well, on one hand, mercenaries are gung-ho about it, like volunteers. They get paid well. But you know what? When a mercenary gets caught, there will be no mercy on them. And a mercenary can be bought. So if the enemy decides to pay the mercenary more, you now have to fight that mercenary. So that's another problem. So I'm thinking to bring these ideas before you. Now, if you've had foreigners in your country or criminals and you decide to engage them as soldiers as well, giving them promises, and then you go back on those promises, you've got a problem. So those are some of the rules of war I've just come up with on a spur of the moment, and maybe you want to add some more of your own. So watch this video, think about it, put some comments below and rate it, and until later, we'll be seeing you.